Okay, welcome back. This is the last lesson recording for IM1, September 11, 2020. And where we left was exploring range, and we were moving this to figure out what our range was. We're moving this shading area to figure out what the range was. Remember, range is the all possible y values. So we're really interested in the how far the graph extends on the y-axis, and so we just basically covered up the extent of the graph, and then we can figure out the point. The y value, the first number is the x value, second number is the y value, extends to like say 1.775 to 0. Okay, so it goes from 0 to 1.75, and hopefully you wrote that you put that as input. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this is a practice for you. Can you try to move this so that it covers up the graph? Okay, you try to move it. You can move this to the left or right so that it just covers up the graph. Okay, we don't want to go extend beyond, we just want to cover up. Okay, and then you need to write down how far, what is the domain. Remember, domain is the all possible x values. That means we're really interested in the x values the graph extends. Please do that now. Okay, and then you're going to write down domain is all values between what number and what number. I want you to enter that as well. Okay, great. I am going to assume that you have done so, so I'm going to show you what I would do. So I know that there's no graph here, no graph here, no graph here. Where is the graph? Right there. Okay, and where does the graph end? There is no graph here, no graph here, right there. Maybe that's about the extent. Okay, then if I click on this, I can see the values. Okay, so the x value is -3, and then the y value is 2. I know that, so that I know the x extends from -3 to +2. So x extends from -3 to +2, like so. Okay, so that's what I would do, and then I would submit. Okay, let's do the next one. Now we're going to do a range. Do the same thing. This time we're interested in the y values. So move the dot so that the graph just covers. The graph is just covered. So move it up and down, and just so that your graph is just covered up. Can you do that now, please? And then you're going to write down the range of all y values is between what and what. We're really talking about the y values. How far does the graph extend? Okay, I'm going to trust that you've done this, and I'm going to show you what I would do. So that's probably the start of how far we have the graph. It's not over here. That's the start of the graph, but we have some y values right here, don't we? Okay, and then we have the graph extends all the way there. Okay, so the graph is completely covered. That's what we want. And then we can start thinking about, okay, what are the y values that we have the graph of? Well, to do this, it's not this point. We don't start with that point. We start with this point here. Okay, so if I was to start here, it looks like the y value, x is -1, y is -4. It extends from -4 to, what is the y value here? Is 2, 5, which means it's 5. And you can see it from the graph as well. So it extends from, I would say, -4 to 5. So that's what I would say, and then submit there. Okay, all right, then what about the next? Okay, this time we are going to try to describe it not in just words, but we're going to use mathematical inequality. Okay, when you're writing inequalities like this, the number, it tells you that this is telling me that the x is in between 1 and 6.2. This is how you would interpret this inequality. The x value is in between. This is the less than or equal to, so it's less than or equal to 6.2, and this is less than or equal to 1. So that means we're really talking about the x being in between 1 and 6.2. Is that correct? No, it's not, because it goes beyond that. But we don't have the dot to adjust that. The only thing we can do to adjust is change the number. So if I change this number to 7, say, then look how far it goes. Okay, it extends to 7. So we need to change this number such that it just the domain just extends to here, because that's how far it goes. And so it goes from +1 to 4. That's what we said that the domain was between +1 and 4, right? So I need to change this to 4. Okay, and then if I do that, it just covers the graph, right? And so that will be what I want to say. So you're saying the same thing that we said in English into the inequality. And when you're writing inequality like this, the smaller number is always on the left, the bigger number is on the right. This is something that you need to remember. Just like on the number line. What does this number line look like? The 1 is on the left, and then 4 is on the right, right? So you need to write it like that. If you reverse this and say 4 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 1, you're telling me something completely different. So do not do that. Make sure the smaller number is on the left and the larger number is on the right. And the inequality sign is always opening to the right. That means if you can kind of picture this as an alligator mouth, it's opening its mouth to the right. It wants to eat x, and it's doing that because it's the bigger number. Okay, all right, so I hope you got that. Let's try the next one. Okay, this time we are translating what we said. We said that the range was, before we said the range was between 0 and say 1.8. That's what we said in words before. So how can we translate that into this inequality? We need to change these numbers, because currently it's telling me the range is between 5 and 8. That's not true, is it? Okay, so we need to move this shading. How can we move the shading so that it covers up just the graph? Well, 5, it doesn't start from 5. What does it start from? It starts from 0. So I'm going to change this to 0. Okay, and see what it looks like. Okay, all right, that's better. It's starting from the right place, and it extends all the way to I'm gonna say 1.8, because again, remember, we're interested for the range. We're talking about the y value, the output, and it extends from 0 to 1.8, and that looks about right, don't you think? Okay, and yours might be a little bit off, but if it's around the same ballpark, then it's good. Okay, all right, then let's go on to the next one. The next 3 cards, I want you to do this on your own. Okay, this time you're doing it without those shading things. Okay, see if you can just kind of picture, okay, where does the graph begin? Where does it end? What is the domain? And what is the range? Okay, can you try to do the next slide, 3 slides on your own, please? Okay, and I am going to be having a look at your slides to see how you went. Okay. Okay, so let's go through the answers. I'm going to assume that you had a chance. So how far does this graph extend? So domain is the all possible x values. So if I wanted to try to shade this, it would start from over here, right? So the line that I would draw would be somewhere like this. Okay. Okay, so the line would extend from somewhere up here and then extend somewhere out Yes, that will be my domain. So I'm looking at the domain to be between this range. My pen is not working very well. Okay, so it is extending from -3 to +3. Domain is the possible x value. So I am going to say this is between -3 and +3. Okay. All right. Okay, let's try without the pen. All right. So I said that domain is between -3 and +3 because I know that the graph extends from about here, -3, all the way to +3 right there. Okay, what about the range? Range is the y value. How far does the graph extend? Well, the graph starts at about here. Okay, and what is the biggest value that goes up? Well, it doesn't just stop here, it goes beyond that. We need to cover up the whole graph, and it goes up to here. So that means it extends from -3 all the way to +5. So I have -3 to +5. Okay, and I'm going to submit that. Okay, now let's try to use that as that description in using inequality. So we just say it extends from -3 to +5 for the range. So I'm going to start with that. So it goes from -3 is the smaller number, and we need the alligator mouth, okay, inequality. And to give me this less than or equal to, you need to type in that. So remember, the alligator mouth is always opening to the right, and then you need to press equals, and that will give you less than or equal to. And we're talking about y, and less than or equal to, and what's the bigger number? We said it was 5. Okay, what about domain? We said that domain extends, the x value on the x-axis extends from -2, I'm sorry, it should be -2 to, and it's less than or equal to, oops, and we're talking about domain, so we need the x in there is less than or equal to, and how far does it extend to? It goes all the way to 4. And then I'm going to submit. And then finally, what about this problem? Okay, this graph continues beyond the space. So how would you describe the domain and range? Domain, where does the graph start? On the x-axis. Okay, do we have graph here? No, no, no. Do we have graph here? No. This is the first place we have graph, don't we? Okay, so domain, it starts from x. Okay, so it starts from x, -2, I'm sorry, -2. Okay, but does it stop? It goes on, and it actually looks like it goes on forever. So we are going to say that it's going to go on forever. That means x just has to be bigger than -2. Okay, so x is bigger than -2. So x is greater than, so I am going to write x is greater than or equal to -2. Okay, so you don't have the math writer for this one? Oh, no, actually you do. Okay, it's greater than or equal to, like so. Okay, what this is saying is, let me get rid of this. What is this saying is that we have the values, we have graph as long as the x is bigger than -2. What about y? Y value, it extends from -5. So y in this case is bigger than, y is bigger than -5, and it just goes on forever. It's not between two numbers. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so Last thing, you are going to write in entry table of content function and increasing decreasing domain and range, and that's it for today.